let's start here.
Yeah, I'm Vinayak Joglekar. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I have more than 4 decades of experience, 3 successful exits, and I'm on my 4th gig, which is ResumeX. You're welcome to visit our booth if it's still there.
I'm John Tanner. I'm a leader of a company called C4G, Change for Good. We do enterprise AI enablement exclusively in the Fortune 200 space right now. Deep background in Agile. I came from Agile development, did everything from lead development at the White House to deploying Agile across Fortune 500s and financial everywhere. But we've done a hard pivot. The career talk last was really good for me because I've done that hard career pivot. I've moved into that AI space, so I'm happy to talk with people about it here.
I'm Shannon Ewan. I'm the CEO of IC Agile. We're a global company, but I'm based here in the DC area, so I've seen many of you before at similar events. Was also an Agile coach and trainer prior to that role here in the DC area. And so working very actively in the professional learning and development space right now. And what is AI doing to disrupt the skills that we all need to have, et cetera, et cetera. So happy to be here this afternoon with everyone.
Excellent. Bob Payne, I'm SVP at Lightspeed. I'm going to be moderating the panel today. Also the chair of the Agile DC conference. So if you like this venue, you like the networking opportunities, October is a great time. I know some of you, actually all of you have been to Agile DC. So welcome. So as we see Agile more in, this is, actually I'll ask this to all of you. As we see Agile being more deeply integrated into Agile methods, anywhere from some of the things that we've seen here today with helping with discovery and prototyping, coding, user story and persona generation. Where do you see the opportunities and risks as we get further integrated, as we're further integrating AI as a team member? So,
yeah, thank you. First of all, thank you for having me here in this panel. So AI is going to be all pervasive. It's going to be like electricity, internet, or whatever, right? So next year we wouldn't even be having a discussion whether leave alone Agile, anything that we do will not have AI in it, right? So talking about the limited scope of how it has changed the way we do Agile, or we are Agile, is there are, in my last 20 years or so with Agile, I have seen there are a lot of unfulfilled promises that Agile made. Whenever I attend or whenever I speak at a conference, I ask a question: how many of you practice test-driven development? Right? So it's like teenage sex, more talked about, less practiced. So it is, hardly 2 or 3 hands will go up, right? Same thing with continuous integration and continuous delivery. I mean, they talk about we should build in small increments and deploy continuously and test continuously and get continuous feedback from the market to test your product market fit, etc. Netflix does it and so many others do it. But, none of us are Netflix. We don't do it. We just talk about it. So all these unfulfilled promises of Agile are now going to be easy to fulfill given our ability, the new ability to work with AI and to generate code, be it for test-driven development or be scripts for continuous integration or continuous delivery. So these are some of the things that Agile was about, but never really happened, and that's one of the reasons why with AI, I think we would be able to fulfill those unfulfilled promises of Agile.
Okay, great. John, thoughts?
Yeah, I think very similarly because we talk about I think we have to define what AI is, and you have to define what Agile is before you can even have that conversation. When we think of AI, we think generative AI. We've all seen it, ChatGPT. Now we've got Claude. It got turned on your iPhone. Microsoft did a great job rolling out Copilot. It's in your Zoom now, right? So there's generative AI. We've had machine learning since the 1950s in a rudimentary form. Then Agile, if you consider it its lean roots, it came from the 1940s. But the recent immersion, of Agile was just a combination of lean practices we were already doing. So when I think, how does AI enable Agile, I really like the analogy of electricity. It's how electricity enables a business. It touches everything, but we didn't do our homework. We got stuck on process with Agile for 20 years. For 20 years, we've been in continuous transformation. We have rolled in Scrum, rolled it out. We've used Kanban boards or not. Story points or no points was a big contention, and none of that really moved the needle for business. So with AI, you get all the enablement that we talked about, the DevOps practices, easier financial operations. You get all the application resource management, the technical discipline. It's a lot easier now. But then the cognitive side, it takes deep thinking to do user-centric design. It takes deep research to align your products to market, iterate, test them, and bring them back. So AI enables us to not only have the technical discipline that we didn't do over the past 20 years, it gives us new cognitive functions to allow the rapid iterative feedback. I worked with a Fortune 500 on a backlog assessment tool, not to create your backlog. To me, that's still a human sort of thing, but to rate the products. According to our market, the current seasonality, the budget we have to spend, and the effort it's going to take, can you help me prioritize my work? That's a multi-month effort usually, and it does it like that because they came up with their scoring metrics for them that fit for the context of their business. And because they now have AI enablement for application resource management, cloud containerization, FinOps practices, all powered by AI, they actually start to meet the promise of Agile. So AI helps in every way with Agile. If you consider Agile an enterprise business agility lever, and you consider AI more than just generative AI.
So, Shannon, I know you, IC Agile, you're very involved in enabling people, individuals, and teams with Agile through training. How have you seen AI impact what folks are looking for, and what do you see the risks and promise?
Great question, Bob, and I really appreciated the previous answers there too. First, I'll talk about it a little bit from the way we approach it as a leader in a small, medium-sized business facing the same problem everyone's facing. How much do we use and when and for what purpose, et cetera? Right. And so we're kind of living this along with everyone and along with our learners, which is helping a lot. We're really able to empathize with the scale of the change and the seismic nature of the change that's happening. And I think the way we've looked at it is you can be too slow to adopt AI for productivity reasons because it's everywhere and you're really going to slow down. It's not like you'd go back to, I'm going to handwrite something and then type it up and then email it. You can't be using those antiquated ways of working, but I think you can jump the gun in terms of trying to integrate it strategically too quickly without really understanding the problem that you're trying to solve. And so really looking at that dichotomy between strategic use of AI and using AI to fuel productivity. And then on the learning side, we've been talking quite a bit about, we've been teaching the Agile mindset for 20-some years now, and we talk about AI really is a use case for the Agile mindset. It's as important now or more important now than it ever has been. And so really looking at that and looking at growth mindset and fast failure, even faster failure.
Yep.
We're seeing that everyone wants to learn as much about AI as they possibly can, but how do we bite-size this so that things don't become obsolete before they're even trained on them, right? And then how do we look at AI both from a sort of the subject matter, the content of courses, as well as how it's used to design and deliver courses. So it's pretty much everywhere, I think.
Okay, great. And Donna, thank you for joining. Yeah.
Sorry, I was on a call.
Yeah, no problem.
Bye.
Yeah, life gets in the way. We all know. So, just a general question about AI as it becomes more integrated with Agile teams. What are the opportunities, risks? What are you seeing in the near future?
Who are Agile practitioners here? A bunch of you. I know you raised your hands. Lots of you. Okay, so I have good news and bad news. Good news is you're going to have a job forever. The bad news is now you're spiritual life coaches. Okay, that's true. And here's what I mean. Because agile folk, agile practitioners, you've already got a framework that has proven to work for 15, 20 years, right?
Yep.
And AI people are like, oh, we want to do AI. We're like, oh no, here we go. How do we do AI? I don't know. Introduce it in 2-week increments of experiments. I'm like, we call that sprints. Okay, we need to have a check-in every day to see how the AI is doing. We call that stand-up. We need a demo day to show what we did. We call that the results meeting. So Agile has already built a framework that AI fits into super good, right? And people who want to do AI, like call it AI adoption driver, or whichever random schmo got stuck doing this in your company. So whatever the random schmo got stuck doing, they're going to have to learn the ways of Agile to be able to do this. Because you know how to corral people to do something. They're going to now have to corral a bunch of people to learn a weird tool that gives you weird results, where you don't know how to measure the ROI yet, and you don't know which projects you're doing. So all of you are able to bring a lot of structure to this whole thing and teach people in the ways of it and say, let's transform this thing you're trying to do to fit Agile, and use some of like the newfangled words like human in the loop and sprints and demo day and all of this stuff, because you just instinctively know how to run a project so it's successful. But I will tell you what I'm seeing. People without a plan, their AI adoption is an absolute and utter disaster. Here's what every company is doing, which is the opposite of Agile. So what they do is they go buy some tool du jour. It doesn't even matter what it is. It could be Claude, Gemini, ChatGPT Enterprise, et cetera. They drop it in their business, and they're like, everyone use it. And exactly no one uses it, except for that nerd, right? Except for the nerd who's like, yes, I've been using it secretly, but now I can use it in the open. But no one else uses it. They go try it once, they're like, yeah, cool, whatever. But no one told them what to use it for, how to use it. They don't do one prompt a week. They don't do the demo days. The way you all would run a project is not how they're doing it. That's why I think the stat is astounding. It's like 90% of AI adoption activities have failed in the last 2 years. And I am unsurprised at this news, because this is not like dropping SAP in and leaving, because there's the old way of doing something that is tried and true and proven right, that everyone's just gonna do, versus the new way that may not work and might take up a lot of time, but you're still expected to get the exact same, better results in faster time. So people are just gonna work more using the old method rather than trying to embrace the new method. So we are never gonna have AI adoption without all of you. That's just true.
Great. Well, actually, I'd like to follow up, because you were talking a bit in your opening talk about this sort of hype cycle and how that can really lead to unreasonable expectations, and you really just brought it up again. So where do you see, how can we start to highlight those wins so that 90% failure rate isn't the death of it? Any thoughts, Donna? Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
We'll just...
So I think the big thing is, when there are wins, even if they're not 100% wins, it's so important to celebrate the learns. So I always say, sometimes you win, sometimes you learn. And right now, everyone's like, that project failed. I'm like, what does that mean? Did you not do it? They're like, no, we did it, but it didn't work. I'm like, okay, that's called a learn. And we have to reward people who attempt the thing. Like, we decided we were going to flip all of our, I don't know, all of our copywriting based on this product catalog to be AI driven. Let's try that experiment for a span of a month. Everyone use AI to do this. Show us the prompts, show us the process, et cetera. And then either the copywriting worked or it didn't work. It resonated with customers or it didn't. But write down what did not work and why not. We have to get a little more specific versus AI worked or it didn't work. And when something worked kind of is the sweet spot right here, right? My ranking system is 1, 2, 3. 3 worked amazing. I can't believe it. There's a miracle. That never happens. Then there's 1, which is that didn't work at all, would not try again. And then there's 2. That's the large majority. It kind of worked. The first prompt was kind of shit. The second prompt was better. And the third one, I think I vaguely got it. Maybe I'll try a different tool. Maybe I'll try a different method. But I will try again. So I think the do the thing again is key here, where we need to celebrate the heck out of that middle category of do the thing again. It almost worked. Let's next time do it one more time and then celebrate that, because other organizations and groups will say, we have something like it. We're going to try the thing again also, versus just saying, oh, we had a huge win over here, 99% of our code generated with AI, et cetera, et cetera. And I have to tell you, most of those stats you see are lies. Like, I know that for a fact. Anytime a company says 90% of our code is AI generated, I'm like, no, it's not. I know that to be true. Because
So you do realize you said that 90% will fail, so that too is.
This is it. No, it's true. Because no one will admit their AI thing failed.
Right.
They won't admit it, but why aren't they using that tool again? Right? If your AI tool is so great, why isn't everyone using it? And why isn't it the way you do stuff now? If you go look in a company, the tools people use, and I'm extremely nosy, I will go and observe people, how they're working, what are they doing. They're not using AI for every single last thing, the way the media will have you believe. So I think so much of it is just people saying, it worked in this one case, therefore everyone is using it for everything, and that is just not true. So much of it is we're in this middle period where it kind of works sometimes, and we have to celebrate that and boost up the sometimes to more often, right? It's a scale. It's not binary. It's very much a scale.
Other thoughts on the hype cycle from the panel? What are you seeing out there?
One of the things that I think has come up a few times today is, and I think George mentioned it, is how quickly it gets better too, and to the point that Dona's making, try it again, keep in there, and then links it back to the Agile mindset. We can fail even faster. We can learn even faster. So that part, I think, is quite exciting, and it does help separate out the hype faster, I would argue.
Yep.
I'll throw another statistic at it. 70% of AI projects never leave pilot, so they don't even go into production. I've talked to over 20 CIOs from Fortune 500s in the past 2 quarters. And one of the things that is universally found about these AI projects, why they never leave pilot, why they never fail, there was no stated ROI up front, so you don't even know what success looks like. There's no return on intelligence. There's no idea of what we're doing with it. It's go play and figure something out. And then the other part of it is that if they do have that business case, here's what we want to accomplish, they forget the roadmap part because the tools aren't mature enough for them to really be able to visualize how we're going to go roll this thing out. You've seen this in Agile. If you've been part of a big transformation, how many of you have been part of an Agile pilot? Yeah, we all have, right? How many of you have seen that pilot be super successful and the lessons were learned and then the enterprise adopted it and was just as successful as that pilot and then Agile was turned on in 3 months, 6 months, 9 months?
Never.
It either dies in pilot because we didn't really plan what the scaled rollout was, or we didn't take those lessons, or worse, we learned all the wrong lessons in pilot and then rolled those out, right? We're seeing that with AI right now. So having that, you're solving a problem and the problem is not AI. There's a business problem. Aligning that and knowing what your return on intelligence is going to be and your tactical roadmap to deliver it is the most important thing right now. The Agile people in this room have the skill set to make that happen. I've been preaching it since 2022. You're the most capable and equipped to do AI because you understand user journeys, you understand enterprise concerns and problems, you know how to build rolling wave roadmaps, and you know how to iterate rapidly and then capture those gains and learnings and roll forward. If you're not doing that, you're going to fail. 90% of people aren't doing that. 70% never get out of pilot.
Excellent. And return on intelligence is now on my bingo card.
Yeah, so. I've been trying to trademark it, but...
Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah, I kind of echo everyone's opinion here in this panel. AI is very powerful and it's easy to go wrong.
Yeah.
Right? It's so powerful that you can build something completely useless and do
Or
it
worse.
really, really fast, right?
Very quick, yeah.
So pre-qualification, as you said, is necessary, that you need to ask whether what you're doing with AI, is it really needed, or and then only we should unleash this power that is there. So you have the power, but use it judiciously is what I would say to avoid. And hype cycles happen, right? It happens with everything. Tell me one technology that didn't go up and down. There's this, hype cycle that happens, and as it's proven. So it's going to happen, but we will overcome that.
Great. So you mentioned some of the potential downfalls or dangers of AI as we're increasingly relying on, let's just use the simplest example of large language models to develop personas, to sort of understand markets. How do we build in the ethical framework in? Who would be accountable for those decisions as we hand more and more of the analysis and sort of marketing projection over to AI? How do you, anybody have any thoughts on how we'll see that play out? Or?
So I'll go first. So the risk that we have with AI, like any other technology, if it is not implemented for the right purposes, there is likely to be a risk. As one of the risks is, let's say, impersonation of voice, or so there are many actors or celebrities who are scared that their voices or their videos may be impersonated. Now, technology has the answer there, that you can have a solution where you can have a blockchain-based hash code wherein it can be proven that there are some nuances which are not visible to human eye or audible to human ear are noted and hashed in the algorithm on a blockchain. And you can cross-verify whether this video is real or fake, or the voice is real or fake. And that could be automated, again, using AI, thanks to AI. So there are solutions to every problem, but we need to think through those and provide the solutions and reduce the risk. But you can only do some level of risk reduction, but there is some level of risk that is always going to be there.
Great, excellent. Any thoughts on the ethical?
Well, it's a big topic. I mean, if you just think of the problems that we know every AI model has. Hallucination, which we're all aware of. There's bias built into the way it operates, every single model. Copyright issues, trust issues, explainability. We don't know how it's coming down to its decisioning. There's no set global law or standard yet. EU's working on something. Ireland's working on a body of knowledge. The US government's working on things. The FTC's released stuff. There are instances of how we use them. The correlation of data is just coming back really wrong. One case example, fed into an AI model the hiring data for a large corporation, and it decided when more women were hired, there were more reports of sexual harassment. So the recommendation was to hire less women. Yeah, and we're trusting these models, right? So when you talk about compliance, it has to be a core function of your business, but it also has to be the first step. It's the blueprint for everything you do with AI. When you're doing vendor selection, when you're doing model selection, when you're doing all the different selections that you've got to do, you have to have strong compliance up front. Most orgs are either hiring a chief AI officer, they're standing up an AI center of excellence. I've seen places transforming their Agile center of excellence into an AI center of excellence or adding it to their backlog. But you have to have technology frameworks to handle bias, drift, hallucination, those things that we can monitor. But you got to have the human framework because laws are not written yet and they're changing every single day, the guidance, right? So it's an integrated function of your already existent compliance, but you need a body to handle it. Don't just give it to a project manager and say, go figure out the AI. It's a new pillar in your enterprise just to get a handle on it. And it's not going away. We can't just wait for the AI fad to pass. It's the first step. You got to build a compliance office, focus on the problems of AI.
Yeah, Donna, Shannon, thoughts?
Yeah, I was just going to say the cat's out of the bag. The law is a lagging indicator. No.
Sure.
No, but it's a real thing, definitely. I think going back to, I think Terry was talking earlier today about the Agile VMO. And one of the things she said really resonated with me, and it's the way we like to approach it, is you also have to keep building the shared understanding. Why do we want to avoid these things? Don't just tell people not to do them. They have to understand what's at stake. No.
I agree with all of you on this. I think about ethics in AI in two categories. There's blame and there's bias. Okay, so every company who is making AI stuff has these responsible AI principles and guidelines. They're all kind of the same. But there's two that I think are incredibly important, which are blame and bias. Blame is human accountability. So like the chatbot that issues $1 refunds, Watsonville, Toyota, or whatever. Okay, whose fault is that the AI is doing that? Some people are like, it's the AI's fault. I'm like, we're blaming a bunch of zeros and ones on some bro's desk. Cool, that's fine. No, it's the person who bought the product from Gemini or OpenAI. It doesn't even matter who. It's the person who bought the product without testing it properly. No, it's the person who jammed it on the website. No, it's the customer. Whose fault is it? It is ultimately whoever's fault this question would have gone to, right? They're the human who is accountable. We can't hold machines accountable for human behavior. It was the person who decided to put this thing on the website to do the job they were supposed to do in the first place. And usually it's not one person, it's a body of people who've decided to take this action. And that's where this compliance office becomes really important to say, hey, we're gonna jam this chatbot into a website, have it face externally, cool. And that center of excellence has to chime in with cool or no, and did you go through this kind of validation, et cetera, et cetera. So that's the blame human accountability. The bias is very fascinating because everyone's like, AI's biased. I'm like, yes, but so are you. Biased about what? People are like, how do we unbias AI? I'm like, in which direction? And it's very much, bias is in the eye of the beholder. It is in the eye of the beholder, and we now think AI is biased because we each have our own. So the way we would expect a human to be biased, we don't expect AI to be biased. And I'm finding that really interesting. So I'll give you just a personal story. Back in the day in Seattle, I was buying a house. And a friend recommended this real estate agent who worked really well for her. And she was a wonderful woman. And she drove me around and showed me lots of neighborhoods. And my friend said, why isn't she showing you this one neighborhood next to the lake that's really nice? They have lots of cute houses and a nice downtown, you'll like it. So finally I asked, I'm like, hey, Marie, why are you not showing me any houses in this neighborhood? Apparently there's a lot of them. She said, I feel like you're a bit too exotic for the neighborhood. And I'm like, this is flattering, but also what the hell is that? I'm like, is that code for what, right? You know, I was so confused. But she said this well-meaning. She didn't mean it in a bad way.
She's trying to save you time.
She's trying to save me time. She's trying to say, you're not going to like this neighborhood because you're a bit too exotic for the neighborhood. And I'm like, I am so confused by this. But now, when I ask AI, which neighborhood should I live in, I'm a person who like blah, blah, blah. I give it a lot more context. Is it biased? Sure. More biased than a person? Maybe. It depends on the person, right? So I think we have to look at our definition of what bias is. I do not have an answer for this. Everyone's like, oh, this AI is biased or that AI is biased. Everything is biased. It's in the eye of the training of the model, the reinforcement learning human feedback, the person who said good answer, bad answer, good answer, bad answer. But it's also in the training data that we will give it to fine tune on our own data. So if your data in the company is biased toward, women or minorities or big companies or small companies, that is what your AI will give you. And now we're moving into the era of agentic AI, where it learns from the previous interaction. It takes your chat and puts it into the AI model as a thing to ground on. It's going to get more and more and more narrow down the path you want to be on. So AI is a sycophant. It will tell you what you want to hear. The more you talk to it, the more it'll tell you. It is the biggest echo chamber we live in right now. And that is probably going to be a huge topic, because it's like my AI, I ask it this question, who's going to win the election? It's going to give me the answer I want to see. Yours, you can ask the same exact tool, but based on interactions, it's going to give you a different answer. So think of it like
A less exotic answer.
Less exotic answer. So that's true. But think of, how social media biases toward the things you like.
Right.
But AI is going to do that just exponentially on drugs and infinitely. So I'm finding this to be a very fascinating time to be in the industry.
Maybe we live in interesting times.
Less interesting would be fine, honestly.
So we sort of brought up governance there, or integrating risk, and I forget, Terry Music was talking about the VMO and structure for organizing the people around value delivery. Again, it's not necessarily about the how or what we're delivering, but how do we create those interactions to get the most seats at the table, to be the human in the loop. So as it relates to sort of that value flow through organizations, whether it be a VMO or some other model, how do you see that evolving as AI has a bigger and bigger seat at the table?
I can maybe say a thing or two about it. It's hard to predict too far down the lane. And I think the transparency piece of it, looking around value, and then one of the things that I notice as we leverage AI for productivity gains internally, how good it is at helping with communications and communications templates, and let's put everything out there, that radical transparency. I think in that context of a value management office and owning that role, I think that could go a long way in terms of getting people in the boat, so to speak.
Okay, great. Any other thoughts you have?
So there are, VMO itself has a challenge. The challenge is that except one VMO director, everyone else is part-time on the VMO. They are deputed from various parts of the organization. Now, if with agentic AI, if you have an agentic replica or an alter ego of each one of those representative forming a 24/7 VMO, that is agents on behalf of them, it's going to be an omnipresent kind of conscience of the entire organization for the flow of value. So that is going to be possible with agentic AI, which, and I could not have thought of, there are different concepts in the VMO, such as your favorite program alignment wall. Now, if you if you think of doing the PAW with a human having a conversation on a Zoom call and things moving on the wall, or if you think of the concept of WSFJ, like think of calculations being automatically and then prioritization happening automatically. It's a concept that we have there, but practicing it without AI is going to be very difficult. So you require a bot or an agent for each one of these tasks as a part of the VMO, as a specialist bot. Like, for example, there could be a bot that specializes in risk assessment and keeping the risk register. That's a part of the VMO. Now, all these bots could collaborate together as agents and form the VMO. And of course, they would be backed up by humans. There will be a human in the loop for each one of them.
Yeah, the real-time dashboard that Terry showed for their OKRs and their KPIs.
Exactly.
Any other thoughts as to how that?
I think when you get down to value delivery, you got to look at the two sides of AI. There's the intelligent automation tasker activity side of it that can optimize and help you streamline things. Then there's the cognitive function side of it that helps you with real-time decision making. When you combine those and give it autonomy, you start to get into agentic AI that can kind of go do some things based on decision making, and you allowed it to be autonomous to go do it, right? Because the power of those three things, individually, they're very powerful. Intelligent IT automation is already there. It can help you save money, judge your true ROI, return on intelligence stuff. It can do a lot of the stuff we had to do manually before, and the cognitive stuff's already there. It can do a lot of the research and analysis for you, and the agentic stuff's getting better of applying those in context. It starts to completely redefine the supply chain of your organization, which is really what your org is. I have an idea, different components come together, we deliver a thing, it goes out to the customer. It's a very complex knowledge worker supply chain to get something. AI optimizes all of that. It's easier to measure your ROI. It's easier to optimize the supply chain. It's easier to align your decisions to real market pressures and customer needs and all that. So you become a value-driven organization if you leverage AI right. If you just go plop chatbots around or cut your customer service staff because you want to use AI there, you're not doing it. But if you use it as the entire purpose of AI is to optimize your supply chain so the humans there can get quicker, faster decisions and results, then it helps in every way. You just got to kind of think of it in those three domains and how you're going to apply it to your context and your problem space. Otherwise, you're just kind of slapping tools around and you're not getting the power of it.
Okay. Anybody else? Thoughts?
I think one problem we're going to have, we already have, is agents are annoying. Okay. And what I mean by that is we've got this AI thing that gives you non-deterministic, AKA different answers every single time. by design, because it's generative AI, it's generating, fine. So you've got a non-deterministic thing that gives you answers, but agents by default take an action on your behalf. Okay, so the difference between like an AI product or a copilot and an agent is an agent takes human or digital input, does a call to a language model or an AI model of some sort, and then takes an action on your behalf. Now, that thing takes an action on your behalf. You have to validate the action, so it doesn't go to your customer without you having validated it. Because I don't think any of you are going to be that comfortable with an AI agent taking action on your behalf with the customer, like sending the customer email on your behalf without you having read it, because that is a disaster. And then the other problem we're going to have is multiple agents in a business. It sounds so good, right? We're going to have a team of agents working together to solve business problems. And I'm like, we can't even have a team of people working together to solve business problems. So anyone who leads with like, this will get rid of all, levels and silos and this and that, I'm like, it really won't. It's just not going to happen because we've not managed that with humans. We sure as hell are not going to manage that with machines, because you're not going to buy agents from one company. You're going to buy them from 10 companies. And we know how well 10 companies work well together. They don't work at all. The reason we all have jobs is to move stuff from here to there, right? Copy the thing from that and put it in email. Copy the thing from the email and put it over in the status report. Take it from the status report, send it to that guy in some format that they'll read. And so much of it is this interoperability between agents, which just does not work and does not exist. And we're trying to make up new ways to make it work, like MCP, Model Context Protocol, A to A, it doesn't matter. So much of the security and authentication and just the logistics, forget like the should we do this or not, the logistics of moving data from here to here where you don't even know what the data looks like, because data model is inherently random for agents. So you don't know what kind of input is going as an output from this agent to this agent over here. So it's extremely annoying, and these agent projects are all failing because we have not figured out how to make like a single copilot work well yet, much less jamming in like 6 of them together to do something. So it's going to be annoying, and business leaders are getting promised things that are wrong. They're like, oh, we're going to be able to automate away 90% of your thing in 6 months. I'm like, I don't think so, right? I'm calling I don't think so on that. I think in a year, we're going to be talking about how agents are not going well. That is my prediction.
I mean, look, we get it in the headlines every day. I think Kluna was the most recent one.
That's right.
I'm going to go replace all my customer service with this AI agentic workforce, and they had to roll it back. And that every business that has taken that, we're just going to let the agents handle it approach so far, has had to roll it back, rehire, lost productivity, and all that. We're not near. It's going to take a breakthrough of some sort. If you think of those agents as semi-intelligent automation things, and you focus them on very specific things, you can get good results right now until we have that next level. Could come tomorrow. It could, for all we know, we could walk out of here and there's a press release that agentic is solved, but it's not solved yet. And if you're building on the premise that it's solved right now, you're not leaving yourself flexibility for the fact that it may never be solved. We don't know yet.
Great. Last question. I'll start with you, Shannon.
Okay. Depends on what the question is. No,
What's that?
I said it depends on what the question is, but then I said go ahead.
That's fine. You can always say pass.
Can we phone a friend?
Sure. So one of the things that we focus on in the Agile community and in sort of upskilling leaders for the next challenge and next transformation, I know that's a lot of work that IC Agile does as well. Donna, you mentioned this role of leadership and having to sort of wrangle the tumultuous, uncertain AI future. And I know the future is always hard to predict. But what sort of skills do you think leaders will need to be able to succeed or to guide their organizations in AI transformations? I know we've focused a lot on Agile. Do you see it as different, or what do you think the future holds for us there?
I see it similar and exponentiated, really. It's looking at, we talk about leading in complexity and how you need to lead differently to lead in complexity and step away from command and control and into enabling and creating environments for people to thrive. you know, letting others have the expertise, and now we're bringing AI into, you know, taking that expertise seat faster and faster and faster. So I think leaders even more and more are going to need to really step into that space of, again, creating the right environment, knowing how to motivate people and, you know, teams involving AI and human components. Really looking at, we talk about horizontal development, which is about learning new skills. Vertical development is about upgrading your own internal operating system and looking at how you make sense of the world in more sophisticated ways. And we're going to need that. We needed it yesterday. We are definitely going to need it tomorrow. So it's more and more looking at those leadership skills in presencing and communication, in, you know, motivating people, in resilience, growth mindset, all of that, and.
Okay, great. John, thoughts?
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of two answers. The skills right now are building the adaptable enterprise, which you guys are all familiar with, but you need an enterprise that's not constantly changing, but that can embrace change, and there's a huge difference between the two. Get rid of continuous transformation, find something stable where you can try pilot and testing. So leaders that understand how to build an adaptable enterprise and recognize that no role that exists today will continue to exist in its current form. So how do you do skills transference for your people, keep your workforce up to date? Those are some of the like immediate right now skills, bringing in your FinOps and DevOps and all that. For the future, it's about orchestration more than anything else. How do we, say we do get an agentic workforce, how do we route them and give them smart, intelligent workflows that actually accomplish what we're trying to do with our adaptable org that we can shift to our new work streams, right? It's about designing organizations, workflows, processes, supply chains around value delivery versus the bureaucratic functions necessary to make a business work that the way we look at it right now. You become a driver of value from good idea fairy out to market in everything that you do within the org. That's why you got to be able to pivot on a dime. That's why lean portfolio management and FinOps paired up are great skills to learn right now, because you need it for AI. The leaders need to understand that everything changes all the time. If they can't do the org design and understand the tech stack and how workflows align and supply chain stuff, then they're going to fall a little bit behind to those who can. So start focusing on the orchestration of your organization versus any specific technology, because that skill set, it's persistent going forward as you're making modular businesses that continuously adapt without disruptive change.
Okay, Vinayak?
Yeah, so I'll make it short. So leaders are making a mistake today, right? I mean, I see there's a big change that happened with remote work in parallel with AI. And the big mistake leaders are making is they are not making their organizations AI friendly by calling people back. So I'll tell you a story here. I had work, like everyone, we have this hybrid model, and we have a work from office week in which everyone works from office. Now, in that week, I see everyone sitting in their respective cubicles getting on Zoom calls. I say, what's this? I mean, I have asked you to come here so that, but they said, you know, we need to have these Zoom calls because if we get into a conference room, who will take notes? Who will maintain the agenda? And all the automats or the bots that are there, they won't be able to attend. So anyways, we are going to do a Zoom call, so might as well sit where we are sitting. So that's what the leaders need to learn today, that what employees are wanting, remote work is very productive, it's AI friendly, and they don't need to force people to come back. This is one single message that I would like to give it to all leaders, that remote first should be their policy.
Great. Donna, you started the conference off. We'll let you.
So for you, I have a hack, by the way. We have the same problem where we don't know what to do in meetings in person. So what we do is we gather in a room, we dial into a Teams call that goes to no one, like some empty room, and we hit record and transcribe, and we get a note from the meeting, just like with one Teams call going on. So try that. That was one weird thing we came up with, like, oh no, we can't live without AI notes. We have to do work. No. So that was that. But the thing that I will tell you, the orgs that are doing good with AI, even at Microsoft, there's a lot of orgs, like 50 orgs. The ones that actually were able to do the thing, the leaders did, and I'm going to say a very corporate thing, okay, which I don't do. And it's called model coach care. which was the leader said, we are going to be AI people. We're going to learn to use AI. We're going to be AI power users. All of us are going to do it. We're going to do it together. So they set that goal. They said, we're all going to do it, everyone's job. Then they modeled the behavior they'd like to see. So they were the ones who said, okay, here's my day-to-day. I used AI for this, this, this. This sucked. This was good. This was okay. This sucked. Here's my prompts. You, tag, you're it. Next. Then they coach and say, have you tried this? Have you tried that? Have you tried this tool? Have you tried talking to this person? They coached. And the third one, they cared. And the caring matters because people are first afraid to say they used AI. They're afraid to say they didn't use AI. And they're really afraid AI is going to replace them. But when the leader does it, then they're like, well, AI is probably not going to replace your job given that you introduced it. And you can just stop paying for it. So yay. But leaders who followed this model coach care thing, but the key is modeling the behavior they want to see. They can't go out there and say, hey, all of you should be using AI, and I want to see 88% of people using AI by next Thursday. Like, that is never going to work because people are so afraid of it, because we've made people so afraid of it. So when the leader leads with it and shows that it actually is helping and benefiting and what ROI looks like, that's when the rest of the org will follow. But without doing exactly that, I've not seen one org succeed.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Give the panel a big round of applause.